Let me bring the press conference to order. We are here to address serious accusations which impugn the integrity and character of members of our police station steering committee, as well as the experts we've hired to guide us. The accusations have been voiced without any prior contact with a committee member to find out facts or what may be misimpressions. Members of the committee are Allison Kapuscinski, who is also town engineer. We have Brian Humes, who is architect. We have John Walworth, who is a retired civil engineer. Vinnie Cervoni, who is a representative of the town council on the committee. We have Rich Heidgard, who is a previous fire chief in town. And we have Rob Baltermitis, who is not only an engineer, but public works director. One person not able to be here today is Bill Wright, who was previously the police chief in town. This is a group with integrity, capability, and intelligence. Architect Brian Humes obviously has been hired by the town to assist us in design and ultimate construction, and we rely upon his judgments. I'm going to turn this over to the chair, Allison Kapuscinski.
Good afternoon. There have been allegations made accusing the police station steering committee and our hired consultants of nefarious actions regarding environmental testing at 100 Barnes Road, the home of the future Wallingford Police Department headquarters. The steering committee has taken recommendations from our hired expert consultants to conduct all OSHA-required environmental testing. As the allegations center around testing for PCBs, I would like to make the following abundantly clear. PCB testing is not required by OSHA. There was never a full report completed regarding PCBs. There were never samples collected to test for PCBs. There was never a cover-up of environmental hazards suggested or agreed to by the design team or the steering committee. Thank you.
Thank you, and now I'd like to invite Brian Humes, our architect, to the podium.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you to the members of the building committee. I'm Brian Humes of Jakunski Humes Architects out of Berlin, Connecticut. We have been retained by the town of Wallingford to oversee the architectural and engineering services related to the renovations at 100 Barnes Road for the purposes of a new police facility for the Wallingford Police Department. Within our contract, it did not include responsibility for handling, identifying, removal, or abatement of hazardous materials. Anything I offer to the committee on that regard is advisory only. And when the topic came up of testing for hazardous materials within the building, we informed the building committee of the requirement from OSHA for lead testing and asbestos testing. Conversation ensued about other environmental testing that may be done at the facility. One topic involved PCB testing. Jakunski Humes Architects was formed in 1996. We specialize in public safety facility design, and I personally have overseen the renovation or construction and the design of over 90 police facilities throughout Connecticut and Massachusetts. Within that history of public safety renovation and construction, We have had no municipality test for the presence of PCBs prior to renovations of an existing building. That recommendation was passed on to the building committee for their information, and they made the decision to not test for PCBs, not because of concern for safety, not because of a concern for any occupants of the building, not for concern of cost, but the fact that PCB testing is not an EPA regulation or an OSHA regulation within the state of Connecticut. PCBs were outlawed in 1978 for use within building construction. The existing building at 100 Barnes Road was constructed in 1978 with a later addition in 1984. PCBs may be present in caulking, but the testing of that PCB material is not a requirement. I can further add about the expertise of the building committee. Throughout all of the public safety projects that we have worked on in the past, the town of Wallingford has put together a very professional staff and a very professional group of committee members to oversee this project. I'm honored to be working with them and to assist in any way that I can in this project, advisory or otherwise. The level of expertise on this committee is extraordinary, from the chairman down through the committee members, bringing all sorts of level of expertise and experience that they have in construction, building, overseeing construction projects, and in public safety. It was the recommendation of the committee to move forward with the lead and asbestos testing that was performed, and the requirements for abatement are included in the contract documents, and the project has been bid with those requirements in place. If I can give a little bit more note on PCBs and caulking, PCBs and caulking would not produce any detectable vapors even during removals. The PCBs are very stable oil with an extremely low vapor pressure, which means that they don't evaporate unless they are heated. Any PCBs in caulking would be over 38 years old since the use was banned in 1978, as I mentioned earlier, and anything volatile would be long gone by today. PCBs were used in low concentrations in caulking to provide long-term elasticity and flexibility to the caulking. The PCBs in caulking are an integral part of the polymers used in the caulking, unlike transformers and ballasts where they are liquids and can easily disperse. In order for PCBs in caulking or any other hazardous materials to present an hazard, it would have to be ingested, absorbed through the skin, or inhaled. PCBs are not absorbed through the skin, are very unlikely to be ingested, and could not be inhaled. Unlike liquid PCBs, PCBs in caulking would not present a hazard to the environment since they are not biodegradable. I am not an industrial hygienist. As I said, I'm an architect and engineer. But using my best professional advice, that's what we forwarded to the committee. There was some reference in the media about a report that was suggested to disappear. I want to reiterate to everybody that there was no report, there was no testing that was performed, There was no recommendation to perform testing, and there was nothing other than the recommendation not to proceed with testing. There was nothing that was made to disappear. If there was some reference of wording within a meeting minutes, I was never asked about that. Post-publication of those minutes, no one ever contacted me to further identify or understand the phrasing that I utilized. But I assure you that there was nothing that was ever present that was made to disappear. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Humes. Now, are there any questions? Yes. The microphone is down here. You want to come up here, Brian?
I'm sorry. Are you saying that you said you didn't say what was quoted in the minutes?
I have not read the minutes. I know what I was present at the meeting. There was no report that I had to reference that it should disappear. There was no report, to my knowledge, that was present. So there was nothing to disappear. If there was wording in the phrasing of disappear, I believe it was in reference to my suggestion that no PCB testing be performed.
Did anybody on your committee or anybody show you the minutes before you came here?
I have not read the minutes. I have not seen the minutes.
Because it does say that.
I understand what it says.
It says that in the sentence before that, it says, this can create, this is from what I remember, it says this can create a domino effect. And then the next sentence is off of memory. It says, I would suggest making this report disappear. Something along that line.
I don't have the exact wording. I am explaining the meeting that I was at and what I explained to the committee.
But it does say that in a minute. So I think that once it was brought to light, it was kind of questioned because it's like, we're all about transparency, and this is PCB. I don't know what PCBs was, but to make something disappear kind of questions transparency. So I ended up having to get a copy of the audio tape because I'm like, maybe something screwed up because those same minutes were amended after that.
If I can, the problem here is minutes are a summary. Minutes are not quotes. Minutes are a summary. There should have been at least the courtesy to contact members of the committee to find out if there's a problem or not. Instead, the minutes are treated as if they're verbatim comments, and we suddenly have accusations about highly questionable activity related to a number of people here, all of them very qualified, professional people. The problem here is a failure to ask those who are responsible for the project what the truth may be. Were the minutes accurate or not? Instead, we hold accusations sent to the press, we hold press conferences in order to rectify what in the beginning is a problem, and that is not seeking all information before forming conclusions.
So before you interrupted me, what I was going to say, or what I was trying to say is, the minutes reflect exactly what he said.
No, they don't. They are a summary of what occurred at a meeting.
So you're going to want the record right now saying that on the audio tape, he didn't say that.
No, I'm saying the minutes are a summary. Minutes do not typically quote someone. They are a summary of what the minute taker feels is appropriate for a historic reminder of what occurred at a meeting. They're not a quote. You've just heard the architect say that there was no report. So if something was written in the minutes, that some report should disappear, there is no report that could disappear. So something is wrong. Perhaps the minutes were written wrong. I don't have an answer to that, but we have the people here who are entrusted with this project and are dutiful in dealing with it in a responsible and professional way. All I ask is that those who have questions about the project should treat them professionally and talk to them about whether there's a problem or not before concluding there's a problem and having us all then deal with events like this.
Mayor, what I don't understand is any person, a lot of people can't afford the time to go to the meeting, and I appreciate their time being on this committee. So at some point, moment in time, people read the minutes, and what they're assuming is actual fact, because all the board members have to accept those minutes. They're supposed to do their due diligence and correct anything. That's what I take from whenever I read minutes. So it was done twice. The minutes were done, it was amended, the changes were there, and then there's an audio tape of that whole entire meeting where it specifically says exactly what's in those minutes, and I was dumbfounded that was to be the case.
So you would rather trust what the minutes, a summary of the meeting, reflects,
No, that's why I got a copy of the tape. It's in the tape.
but you would rather trust that than what you're being told by the actual people who make the decisions and sit at the meetings. And that's your privilege. If you want to believe a summary of a meeting versus what people are saying as what really happened, I suppose people can do that. But the truth of the matter is it's not a transcript. It is a summary of a meeting. That's the function of minutes.
And again, the point is that in the tape, it's actually verbatim that it does say that. That's why it was bothersome, because I thought it was an error that, because it rises to the point, in my opinion, that if it's a concern at a school, and this is a police department, maybe we should go deeper into it. This is only me as a taxpayer, just looking at based upon the minutes, because as you look at the minutes, as the mayor says, now I can't trust the minutes. It's just a summary, and it could be wrong.
A summary to guide a person as to what other information they might want to seek, and the place to go for that information is members of a committee. And if the members aren't sure, then of course the experts they hire. But there should be consultation with those sources of information before minutes are accepted as verbatim truth.
So those minutes, and we have to assume, are just a guide that really may have not have said, and then
Minutes are a guide. Absolutely, they're a guide.
and it's not held accountable. So somebody can't use that as a moment in time to say, wait a minute, this is what you said.
Certainly a person can read the minutes and have further questions, but at that point, out of professional courtesy, if nothing else, they should consult the people who ran the meeting, who are in charge of the project, to find out, are the minutes accurate or not? Is there a report or not? Instead, we choose to just look at a summary and impugn the reputations and character and integrity of people who are performing a duty. There's something wrong there.
I beg to differ. My position as a taxpayer is, Councilor Fishbein brought it up about the minutes of the meeting and where it was, make it disappear. And then in further reviewing it and so forth, it says that it might be a domino effect. And again, it's more troublesome now from you speaking by saying, well, you really can't trust the minutes. So now, unless you're there, what are you supposed to believe? I have my faith in the people that are up there by saying, hey, just what they said. For example.
Okay, you can believe whatever you want, Mr. Comerford. That's your right as a citizen. I'm looking at people who have great integrity. We have 3 engineers. We have 2 retired public safety servants, police chief and fire chief. We have a member of the town council who acts as a representative for the town council sitting on this committee, and they are indicating there was no such report. You want to believe what's in a summary in a minutes, and they're saying it doesn't exist. That's your privilege. I think it falls short of what a reasonable mind would conclude.
That's not what I said. And there is a 3-page report, and it identifies a a report in the minutes. There's a front page, there's a narrative, and it goes a one-page explanation, and they talk about it. And I believe Mr. Humes states in those minutes that about the PCBs, pretty much what he just articulated a couple minutes ago. And he goes on to say that it's not a requirement and blah, 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 blah. I thought their meeting was today. And unfortunately, I went to the library thinking it was today at 10 o'clock, and it wasn't. It was yesterday. So it was my mistake. Because I was going to ask Mr. Humes, I was going to ask him specifically, and maybe I can ask him now, what did he mean by saying, make the report disappear?
I think he already answered that when he was up here and you asked him.
Well, he said he didn't say it.
Well, you know, we're not going to badger people. He
not-
clearly stated what he meant to, what happened. There's no report. Nothing disappeared. We're not going to be able to change that. There is no report. So if the minutes say something different, you'll have to choose. You want to believe a summary of a meeting, or you want to believe the people who are actually entrusted to do the work? Are there any other questions? Yes. I don't know why. I believe that's an EPA requirement as to if it is required. Does anyone know the nature of the requirement for school buildings? But it's not a requirement? Okay, do you want to come up just so that everyone...
The EPA does not currently require that testing, but some municipalities with school renovations elect to test for PCBs. It is. Correct.
My understanding is that it's even contraindicated under certain circumstances. And I think Mr. Humes went through how the PCBs typically in caulking, unless the caulking's on fire, it's heated, you will not have any effect. So they're expensive tests. There's no reason. We do what's required. There are a series of tests. You can be testing for formaldehyde, you can test for mold, you can test for radioactivity. There are a series of things you can test for, but they're not required. So they are not deemed by OSHA to be things that are necessary for testing. Naturally, we're concerned to do what is required, but as I say, there are also indications that looking to test for PCBs can have a negative effect in that it can make it more of a hazard. That's if it exists, but as Mr. Humes pointed out, they were outlawed in 1978. The building was built in 1978. By now, probably there's nothing left, if there was anything, that would vaporize from the PCBs and caulking. Yes? In the caulking, do we know what temperature that would be, Mr. Humes? Do you know what the temperature it would be that would cause the PCBs to vaporize? We don't have that information right here. The experts, OSHA is the expert to protect employees, and OSHA does not require this testing. It is not done.
PCBs are primarily found in caulking. PCBs may be present in other building materials such as fluorescent lighting, may have some presence of PCBs. Transformers may have some PCBs. Wallingford Electric is handling the transformer installation at the property. In my opinion, no. And again, I'm just advisory in this regard for the committee and for the town. It's not within my scope of work. I'm not an industrial hygienist, but in my opinion, no.
Let me start out with, I appreciate you being on the committee. I trust your professionalism. I appreciate it. I'm not questioning that. My concern, Mayor, is the fact that there is a tape out there. And on that tape, allegedly, because I haven't heard it, but it obviously, Mr. Comerford has suggested that it is on the tape, and I believe him that it's on the tape, that it was suggested that whatever needed to be disappear. I find that concerning, and I find the fact that, Mayor, you're saying that the words on the tape, you're making light of it, and you're saying that it should be ignored, it makes me very concerned as a citizen that it actually did exist, and it's not to be made light of.
No, I'm not saying make light of it. I'm
But you're
saying
saying it
that
didn't
that is
exist,
reason,
and it
the
should-
minutes are reason to ask further questions.
But-
Instead, we have people concluding that these people are
No,
doing
I
something
don't-
wrong.
I don't think so. All I'm saying is the fact that you're saying that somebody should have asked. The minutes, there were many opportunities, and I didn't read the minutes, but there were many opportunities to correct the minutes. And that the minutes actually were originally stated accurately because it's on the tape. So the fact that you're trying to defend, or for lack of a better word, I don't know, the fact that you are saying to Mr. Comerford, you know, you should have questioned somebody else. You should have, but why shouldn't we take what's in the minutes, what's on the tape as face value, and just putting all that aside, the fact that somebody said that something should disappear is concerning to me. That's all.
And
And
I agree, where something is said, something should disappear, I would be concerned too.
It is-
However, the failure to talk to the people,
Well, Mayor, I think.
just, will you let me speak?
Well, you cut me off.
The failure to give the courtesy to talk to people who are entrusted with this project and accuse them
I'm-
of intentionally doing something not in the public interest is inexcusable.
Well, I'm confused. I don't think that that's the case. I think the case is, people are saying that it was on the tape. And the fact that it's on the tape, you can't dispute that. Those are words, those are recorded, and that's all I have to say. And that was concerning to me. Not the integrity of the committee or the professionalism or the knowledge of anyone. It's not my intent, but my intent is the fact that you're saying to ignore what's on the tape.
Okay, so
I don't
we're
want,
going,
I'm not going to sit here, I don't want to sit here and argue about it. I don't appreciate your tone. All I'm telling you as a citizen, I'm concerned. Thank you.
any other questions? Wait a minute, just.
So the discussion, the whole reason for this press conference, I'm going to make the assumption, was based on the accusations that Councilor Fishbein made at the council meeting. Is that correct? Is that where that stems from?
I think there was a newspaper article as well that certainly impugned the, the activities, the position, the work product of the members of the committee.
That's fair enough. And so therefore, in many of the comments you've already made here, a better solution or a better pathway to that would have been to read the minutes if you couldn't attend the meeting, and then ask direct questions to verify what was actually said, what was actually done. Is that correct? That's what you're implying.
No, that's what I'm stating. If minutes say something disappeared, and in fact there is no report that disappeared, no report was ever done, then I guess the minutes are proven wrong. But instead we keep dealing with, oh, well, it said this in the minutes, but we're hearing testimony from the people who are actually involved that whatever was in the minutes was poorly represented because it is not factually true.
So you feel, you're standing by the sentiment that the opportunity to go and correct the minutes and make adjustments, just like we do. At the council meeting, if we go through the minutes before we approve them, if we think there's a vote that's incorrect, something that needs to be changed, we'll make the modifications before we approve the minutes. The comment that you're making is that there was an opportunity to do that, and they still went through with that statement in it.
It apparently was missed. I mean, you know, mistakes are made. There's no question. But the fact of this case is that there is no report that disappeared. So because it was reflected in the minutes doesn't change the fact.
So an opportunity to ask any questions would have been at a press conference like this one, correct?
It could have been by calling up the department of the person, calling the person at the office or in another means, getting in touch with them and asking, hey, what's the story here? Saw this in the minutes. You know, I'm concerned about it. You know, these people, most of them are available on a daily basis in town.
I agree. I agree that any one of them could be reached by phone pretty easily. But because of the way this escalated, it seemed prudent, and obviously this is what you decided to do, is to put a press conference together to discuss the matter and field questions to address the concerns, correct?
That's correct. At the point it's in the newspaper, it's on television, that people's reputations, their integrity is impugned because they're doing something wrong. You know, yes, there has to be a response to that.
What was the distribution for this press conference?
It was on our website. I believe it was in the paper. You know, we put it out in the normal ways.
I will tell you, I'm on the town council. I sit up there. You know this. I literally found out about this 45 minutes before this meeting was due to start. And I would think that something of this gravity could have been very easily emailed at least to the members of the town council. At the point of where this accusation started, those members could have and should have been at least notified to be here. I literally changed my work schedule to come here. I didn't know that it would be live streamed. I didn't have any information on this whatsoever up to 45 minutes ago.
Well, I'm sorry you missed the public notices that were out there, but once we start emailing particular people, I don't know where that ends. We let everyone know in the best manner that we have, and we're holding this meeting.
I think it's pretty evident by the fact that there's almost no one here that very few people were aware of it. And if we're truly trying to be transparent and do more than simply defend a position, make a public statement, and really get some back and forth question and answer, we would work a little harder at trying to gather people together to ask those questions. I don't have any questions of any of them, because until I could find out more, I wasn't going to call anybody. I haven't had the time yet to do it. I'm going to start to dig into it now, but I really think in the interest of having a press conference where people can go back and forth in a healthy way is very important to get that notification out there.
I disagree with you that the purpose of a press conference is to go back and forth. Typically, a press conference involves members of the press who ask questions, but but it's not an open forum meeting.
Fair
Now,
enough.
We're doing that, but a press conference typically is not a mass public meeting where anyone who has a question has an opportunity to ask it.
Fair enough, but your own notice said to address concerns, and quite frankly, I have more concerns as a counselor and as a taxpayer than I think the press does. The press does its job of getting that information out there, but I think there should have been more people here, and that would have been with a little bit earlier and a little bit better and a little bit broader notification system. Thank you.
Yes, Kate? Okay. Any other questions?
I looked up the minutes here, and you're saying that about the report. And did you read the minutes first before you came in, Mayor? Just yes or no?
You know, I'm not going to debate the minutes with you, Mr. Comerford.
Just please answer the
The
question.
minutes say what they say.
Yeah, and it
The
says
point- the point of this press conference is to say that the minutes are incorrect. Whatever they lead you to believe seems to be incorrect. The people who are really responsible are telling you the truth. So why we keep debating what's in the minutes, I don't understand.
Okay, I'm done. I'm only going to make one statement then. This is your committee. You hand-selected this committee. You're in charge of this committee, and what you're suggesting is their minutes are wrong. So now I can't believe anything that's in any of the minutes because the tape clearly says it. Thank you.
How you doing? The question, I think what you're trying to say, Mayor, and I'm not going to put words in your mouth, is that you're saying what was said by Mr. Hume was factually correct, because not incorrect, because the report is attached to the minutes. I didn't see the minutes either. Is that report attached to these minutes?
I don't know, what report?
Well, they said there was a 3-page report about,
There's a report from the
About the
testing firm.
right. And
They did two tests, lead and asbestos. They didn't do a PCB report.
All right, then-
There was no testing
I
of
under-
PCBs.
Then I understood you wrong, because I thought you said the PCB, the acknowledgement was there. So what's
Well,
disconcerting?
there's a page that deals with PCBs, but there was never any test.
Right, but the report, but it's in the report there. It didn't disappear. That's what you're trying to say.
Well,
So that's what's
whatever
making-
whatever
that's
we
what-
received is there.
So that's what's making the minutes, in your words, not factual, because it didn't disappear. But what's concerning about that is the thought process that somebody would think that they could make the report, or a report should disappear. That's what's disconcerting.
Well, I think when we start publicly criticizing people because they might have thought something, I think there's a real problem.
It wasn't a thought, it was actual, according to Mr. Comerford, it's on tape, and according to the minutes, it's in the minutes and wasn't corrected. So that means it was more than a thought in the head. It came out. And so those were the actual words stated.
Any other questions? Hearing none, we thank everyone for attending. I thank the committee. Have a good weekend.